an audience other than, or at least in addition to, the teacher. It's always knowledge going someplace to make something happen. The creator only creates because they want to have an impact. If they write a story, they want to make you happy or sad or have your heart beat faster. If they build some invention, they want to make your work in the kitchen or in the workshop easier. Audience is always important. So now we're going to take an example. We're going to walk from type 1 to 2 to 3. This is a young man named Jonathan Santos. And in Jonathan's school, they organized a series of type 1s for half of the school year, and the theme was called Cultures from Around the World. And they had people from different cultures come and show their cooking and their artwork and all of that. And one of the groups that came was a group of Australian Aborigines, and they played the didgeridoo, and they showed their batik and their artwork, and then they took the young people out on the playground and they sailed boomerangs. And what I'd like you to do is picture, and Jonathan, by the way, wasn't a really good student, I must tell you that. No one would have ever recognized him as gifted, but when he saw those boomerangs, picture a great big light bulb turning on above his head. Now, at the end of a type 1, you have a debriefing. Who liked this? What did you like? Would you like to form a group, go on the internet, form a committee, generate some ideas? And Jonathan went running to the IT teacher and he said, "Sure, Jonathan, I'll help you." And Jonathan began creating some boomerangs and inventing certain kinds of boomerangs. This is one that he invented. It's like a helicopter. It returns by fluttering gently down from overhead instead of whipping around behind the thrower. And one of the things Jonathan found out was that a boomerang is really an airplane wing. And if he carved it in different ways or used different materials, this would produce a different effect. All of a sudden, this youngster who was having difficulty reading, he was a Hispanic student in an English-speaking school, all of a sudden is reading college-level books on aerodynamics. In one of those books, he ran across what caused light bulb number 2 to turn on. What he read was that the oval shape of an airplane wing that produces its lift during flight causes a swirling vortex of air way out at the wingtips that inhibits lifting, and planes use up to 40% of their fuel to combat that effect. And Jonathan went and talked this over with the IT teacher, and he said, "Do you think we could do something about that?" So they started experimenting. They put little fins on the end of the boomerang, and they behaved differently. But there was a problem. You can't do research because you can't measure it. And so they switched from boomerangs to model airplanes. They built a wind tunnel, and they tried these little different fins, and certainly they got different results. They saved gasoline when they measured the gasoline in the airplane wing engine. To make a long story short, Jonathan entered this in the state science fair contest in his home state of Maryland. He won first place. He then entered it in the International Science and Engineering Fair. He topped 560 finalists from throughout the world. He won a full college scholarship plus a free trip with a sponsor to witness the Nobel Prize ceremonies. And so I like to point this out. The type 1 was the Australian Aborigines, and they got Jonathan turned on, interested in the topic. Type 2 was all of the aerodynamic books that the teacher got for him, including helping Jonathan build the wind tunnel. And of course, type 3 was the data he gathered to determine what were the appropriate size and shape of the fins on the airplane. And by the way, he has grown up to be a very successful inventor and holds a number of patents related to aerodynamics. Now, we move on to the next area, and that is investigative methodology. And I'm going to cover two topics here. And the first one is what we call how-to books, and the second one is teaching kids investigative research skills. But I'm going to do this by first telling you a story. This is a little boy named Michael. He is 8 years old. And in the interest profile that we did with Renzulli Learning on Michael, one of the things that we found out was that he was very interested in business. And so what the computer found for Michael were some books. I don't know if you can read this, but this is called well, let me go up one slide. The new Totally Awesome book for kids, the Kids Business Book, the Kids Guide to Business. And Michael noticed something in his town, a very cold winter town in the northern part of the United States, that many of the immigrants that came to that town from Africa had no concept of gloves or mittens. And so Michael decided that he was going to start a business to raise money to buy gloves or mittens for these children. And he had some kids that were helping him as manufacturers. He had business. He had kids that were doing posters. He had his own little business going as a result of these, again, what we call how-to books. And I was visiting the school one day, and Michael came up to me and he said, Mr. Renzulli, I know you helped start this program here in our school, so I would like to give you a button to show my appreciation. And I looked at the two buttons and I said, gee, Michael, they're really nice, thank you. And he said, no. He said, I'm giving you one. If you want the other one, it will cost you 50 cents. So he said, you know, I have a business to run and it's for a good cause. And so I like this example because not only does it show the value of giving youngsters the tools they need, in this case to start a business, but also teaching young people values that they can use their gifts and talents for good things. We have hundreds of how-to books. I'm going to run through a few very fast. In the Renzulli Learning System, we have an entire database with about 200. In every subject, how to make pop-up books, how to do an animator's handbook, plays for young puppeteers, paper engineering, how to debate, student's guide to social action. You see the kids' business book again. How to write poetry, getting published, the art and craft of playwriting, my backyard history book. They go on and on, invention books, and on and on and on. Another example is a young man named Joshua who had a tremendous interest in cartooning. And this is one of his early cartoons. And one of the things we did was go on the internet and we found a place called the Museum of Comic and Cartoon Art. We also were able, the computer found for Joshua, lots of how-to books, information, a foundation course in cartooning, cartooning for beginners, etc., etc. Joshua got better and better, and pretty soon he became the staff cartoonist for the University of Connecticut daily newspaper, and later on he actually had one of his cartoons published in the main state newspaper of the state of Connecticut. The second thing, the way that we get young people to think and feel and do like practicing professionals, is to get them to think about data and data gathering. And if you think about data and data gathering, you need to think about various kinds of instruments. We teach young people the basic steps of the research process. And then in type 2 training, when I train teachers of the gifted, that they use my lab, I have an instrument lab. They are exposed to different instruments. Here's an instrument called the glow germ meter. It can determine whether there are germs on your hands or if you touch something or the countertop in your kitchen. And so what you do is you rub a little powder on your hands, you expose it to this light, and then you can determine if there are germs. Now, whenever we do a type 2, when we finish and the young people know how to use the instrument, we then ask them to pose a hypothesis or a research question. What are some things, now that you know how to use this instrument, that you would like to do? So this is a group of children at a school, and they're looking at commonly touched things on the playground. And this, in this case, the handle on the overhead trolley. In this case, the railing on the playscape. I don't know if I want to do this next one, but somebody has to do it. They're looking at the seat on the swing, and they are determining if there are any kind of germs there. Another instrument that we use, and I've got about 25 of these in my lab, is a sound meter. It determines decibels, and here's a group of children that are studying the effect of music on noise in the school cafeteria. And one of the things that they found was the kind of music that they played and the level at which they played the music made the cafeteria a much quieter place. And they did many different kinds of research studies. This is just one. So here's a list of the instruments in my lab that we teach teachers to use, but always teaching the kids to use the instrument is not an end in and of itself, but rather a prelude for them making a decision about some research that they would like to do with the instrument. Now, one other aspect of our model is that this is a sub-theory, but a very important one. It's called curriculum compacting. One of the great tragedies in our education system is that young people who can learn faster than other people are often held back because everybody has to move at the same rate or pace. This cartoon tells the whole story, doesn't it? And so we've developed a process that we call curriculum compacting. And basically, we want to create a more challenging learning environment. We define the objectives of any given unit of instruction before the unit of instruction starts. We then pre-test youngsters that we know are generally above average in math or in reading or social studies or science. And then what we do is let them